Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Whether or Not. We have a fun and exciting episode, first starting out with how owls can be a game changer with farming, and then going into air pollution, and then Jake has a feature on about THON, which is the largest student-run philanthropy in the world and was started right here at Penn State. Whether or Not starts right now. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Whether or Not. I'm your host, Bree Guy.
And I'm your forecaster, Sawyer.
So Brandon, it's a pretty exciting weekend this weekend with Groundhog's Day and the Super Bowl. Can you tell me a little bit about how the weather's going to be?
Yes, it looks like it's going to be an eventful weekend this weekend with sports and Groundhog's Day, but weather-wise, not too much going on besides some below-average temperatures on Friday and maybe some snow on Sunday.
All right, well, we'll have to wait and see if Punxsutawney Phil makes an appearance, but otherwise it looks like it's a good weekend to stay in and watch the Super Bowl. But first, we have Nature in the News.
The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has released its most recent water quality monitoring and assessment report, showing that 19,900 miles of rivers and streams in Pennsylvania do not meet federal water quality standards. The report is a comprehensive analysis of the water quality status of more than 86,000 miles of streams and rivers and more than 160,000 acres of lakes in Pennsylvania. Those rivers, lakes, and streams are assessed in 4 categories: aquatic life, water supply, fish consumption, and recreation. The report evaluates whether a water body is achieving the water standards that protect and provide clean water. It is not an advisory to avoid contact with the surface waters, but instead it identifies waters that require controls and offers the best practices to restore clean water. Some of the most common pollutant sources cited in the report are abandoned mine drainage, agriculture runoff, and urban stormwater runoff. With that being said, the Department of Environmental Protection's Bureau of Clean Water states that they are working with public and local governments to improve water quality in many of Pennsylvania's rivers and streams.
According to NASA, 2017 was globally the second hottest year on record, just behind 2016. However, some parts of Pennsylvania, such as Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, did not experience a high temperature rise. Our very own Penn State lecturer and state climatologist Kyle Imhoff states that 2017 was actually the 7th hottest year on record for Pennsylvania, however still considered an abnormally warm year for the state. Interestingly enough, we have actually seen a rise of 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit over the past 100 to 151 years. However, it has been nighttime temperatures that have been rising, not daytime. While this can be seen as a good thing for some, like farmers, people in other places such as Pittsburgh are at risk for health issues caused by air pollution. Allegheny County has close to 250 deaths per year because of this, and rising temperatures can cause an increase in fine particles in the air.
Light pollution is known to cause many different problems, including the disturbance of sleep cycles and disruption of the natural ecosystem. Now, researchers at the University of South Florida suggest yet another consequence of artificial lights: the spread of vector-borne diseases like the West Nile virus. The West Nile virus is carried primarily by birds and, in the right circumstances, can be passed on to humans via mosquitoes. Typically, the infectious period in birds only lasts a few days, but when Meredith Kernbach, a graduate student at USF, exposed a group of about 24 infected sparrows to dim light at night, simulating what birds might experience in a city, she found that half of them continued to have significantly high viral concentrations for 2 days longer than the control group, which spent nights in darkness. Although scientists are working on customizable LED bulbs that attract less insects, the spread of vector-borne diseases is one more factor to keep in mind when considering steps that would reduce light pollution.
It seems like owls are the solution for a long-lasting issue across the world. Sodium peroxidate, or compound 1080, has been used in the past as a rodent-killing chemical on farms. It was banned a couple of decades ago in the United States because it was harmful to other animalia. However, in 1982 in Israel, ornithologist Yussi Lassem thought of the brilliant idea to use barn owls instead. Barn owls like to prey on rodents and are okay being around people. Now, decades later, Lashem's dream is coming true and in much larger ways than he expected. This project has spread across borders to Palestine and Jordan and has brought these communities together despite political tensions. This month, researchers from the Middle East, Mediterranean, and North Africa met and are hoping to utilize these findings in Egypt, Cyprus, Greece, Tunisia, and Morocco. These efforts have even spread to our own country in California. The word is spreading, and researchers are hoping that progress can be achieved around the world.
Well, it is the first weekend in February, and for you football fans out there, you know that the first weekend in February means the Super Bowl. But before we get there, we do have Groundhog's Day on Friday. So as you can see here, we do have a cold front that has moved off into the Atlantic Ocean. So we will see some sunny conditions here on Friday, but don't let that fool you because we do have this high pressure system here off to our west, which will bring some very cold and dry air from the Great Lakes region down into the Ohio Valley, where we will also see some pretty hefty winds, which will make those Friday temperatures feel much colder than they are. And as we head into Saturday, we see this high pressure system here move off to our south, as well as a new system develop up here to our northwest. And due to the clockwise rotation of the high and the counterclockwise rotation of the low, we will see some converging winds here in the Ohio Valley, which will lead to some cloudy conditions late Saturday evening, as well as maybe even some snow flurries. And on Sunday, we do see this high pressure system has moved off. But we do see a new low develop down here in the southeastern United States, as well as this low pressure system up here make its way further to the east coast. This low pressure system does bring up some moisture from the south, which will lead to some rainy conditions down here in the southeastern United States, as well as some snowy conditions here coupled with that cold front throughout the whole day on Sunday. And for you football fans out there, as you know, the Super Bowl is being played in my home state of Minnesota, where we do see a high-pressure system up here in the Dakotas, which will bring some very cold and dry temperatures to the state of Minnesota, which will make for a frigid Super Bowl Sunday. So for your weekend forecast, we do see a high temperature of 20 on Friday with those mostly sunny skies, but again, those windy conditions will make those temperatures feel much colder. And we head into Friday night, where the night will be clear, which will allow some of that warmth to escape, which will make for a much colder Friday night, along with some light winds, which will carry into Saturday, when we'll see some mostly partly sunny conditions throughout the whole day on Saturday, which will give way to evening clouds from that system that moves through, as well as some light snow. And that snow will carry in to Sunday, where we see spotted snow showers throughout the day, but a high of 36 degrees here, so just a little bit warmer on Sunday. And so now we do have Jake with a feature on THON.
In just about 3 short weeks, 708 Penn State students, including myself, along with thousands of supporters and student volunteers, will all gather for one of Penn State's most beloved traditions, the Dance Marathon, better known as THON for short. It's a 46-hour-long, no-sleeping, no-sitting dance marathon that's a culmination of a year-long fundraising effort for children with pediatric cancer. While there are many moving parts that help make the weekend a reality, none play a more vital, critical role than the Emergency Operations Center, or the EOC for short. And here at the Department of Meteorology, several students are setting up for another year of keeping students and spectators safe throughout THON weekend, just in case bad weather decides to set up shop here in Happy Valley. While the Emergency Operations Center primarily focuses on preventing incidents inside the Bryce Jordan Center, several student meteorologists inside the EOC take stock of what's happening outside the BJC, specifically winter weather.
What we do is largely subject to what the weather conditions are like outside. So for example, the Emergency Management Club will offer hour-by-hour forecasts if inclement weather is impacting THON. I do EOC because I believe that it is extremely important for everyone attending THON to not only be safe when driving on the road, but also be aware when conditions become inclement if they have to stand outside for an extended period of time.
Since 2014, Club EM has assisted in THON weekend operations for the EOC. Though winter weather isn't a strange sight in mid-February, it never hurts to be prepared. As Paul explains, it was back only a couple of years ago that the EOC was on full alert for a potential winter storm during THON weekend.
That did happen 3 years ago, February 2015, as a result of a potentially wintry disturbance moving through the area. The good news is that it was less than expected across State College, but we still saw widespread 4 to 8 inch snowfall amounts across much of the rest of the state.
Even before the storm, bitterly cold temperatures stuck around for a majority of THON weekend. Thanks to their input, the entrance plan for THON's first several hours Friday night were modified, preventing many spectators and supporters from spending hours outside in frigid cold temperatures. With THON only in a matter of days, Paul and many others inside the EOC have the same goal in mind.
I hope that the EOC's role this year is minimized, as that would mean that inclement weather is not a problem for THON 2018.
It may be a little bit early to see whether or not Mother Nature will pull any tricks for THON weekend, but rest assured the EOC will keep all spectators, supporters, and dancers safe and sound throughout all of THON weekend, whether it be inside from threats or outside from the weather. As a dancer personally, it's good to know that I have such a supporting cast behind me to ensure that I have the best weekend possible. For Whether or Not, I'm Jake Langedyk, and as always, for the kids.
And I'm back with your extended forecast here for the first week in February. But before we get there, we do look at the weekend recap here. On Friday, we do see plenty of sun, but again, those 20-degree temperatures with that wind will feel much colder. On Saturday here, we do have some snow and clouds late Saturday evening into Sunday, where we will see some spotted snow showers that will accumulate to around 2 inches. As we look into next week, we do see temperatures right around average on Monday and Tuesday here, and temperatures may climb just above average here on Wednesday with some snow flurries associated with that. And then as we move into the rest of the week, we do see temperatures drop Thursday and Friday into next weekend.
Well, Brandon, it looks like it's going to be a cold but calmer weekend.
Yes, it'll be a colder weekend this weekend, but next week it looks like we'll be going back to around our average February temperatures.
Good. And speaking of February, something that I'm looking forward to are longer days. And earlier in the show, we asked you, how much daylight does State College gain in February? Is it A, 43 minutes, B, 59 minutes, C, 1 hour and 8 minutes, or D, 1 hour and 25 minutes? If you guessed C, you are correct. State College gains over 1 hour and 8 minutes of daylight throughout February, with 11 hours and 15 minutes of daylight by February 28th.
The length of the days will continue to grow until the summer solstice on June 21st, when there will be over 15 hours of total daylight. And I'm for sure looking forward to some longer days and more sunlight as well.
Yes, and with that warmer weather, I am ready for this winter to be over.
And hopefully spring coming up here in a few weeks.
Yes, well, that is all the time that we have today, folks. Again, I'm your host, Bree Guy.
And I've been your forecaster, Brandon Sawyer.
Have a great weekend.